Hi everyone, and welcome back to another segment of Presley Mania. Today I want to talk a little bit more about all of this Brigitte, Kruse, Priscilla, GWS auctions mess that's going on. I know last week I talked about Navarrone's video and also gave you a little background on who Brigitte, Kruse, and GWS auctions are. Navarrone brought up some things in his life that has got my mind just kind of spiraling. And him saying that GWS were selling fakes has got me wondering. Now, it's got me wondering on several fronts. Where did the fakes come from? How did they get them? Why were they selling them? Did Brigitte know they were fakes? The other thing that concerns me is if Brigitte didn't know they were fakes, who did? And Priscilla is giving out signed letters of recollection. So where did the items come from? And how can she give a letter of recollection on something that isn't real? It's kind of a deep, dark hole, isn't it? So I wanted to tell you a little bit about one particular item today, and next week I'm probably going to go into some more details about other items that have been, how shall I say it? There has been some question on whether or not they were real or not real that had been auctioned off by them, by GWS. So the first thing I'm going to talk about today is Elvis's very first TCB ring. Now, when we think of the TCB ring, we think of the black onyx with the big diamond TCB logo on it and all of that. Well, the first one he had made was nothing like that at all. It was a gold nugget, massive gold nugget ring. And it had a 7.56 total carat weight, carat weight diamond in the middle of it, okay? That doesn't count the other diamonds that were surrounding it. Anyway, Elvis wasn't really completely happy with that ring. Wasn't the design he was really looking for, but he had worn it for a while. So I want to tell you a little bit about the story of it, and I want to read to you what GWS Auctions wrote up about the ring that they were trying to auction off. This ring ended up selling for over $400,000. That's a lot of money for someone to buy this, and there are a few sketchy details surrounding it as well, but for right now, let's just dig into what they had to say. All right, again, this is from GWS Auctions. Elvis Presley's custom-made and solid 14-karat yellow gold first TCB ring, 7.56 carat GIA VS2 diamond. It comes with letters from J.D. Sumner and Priscilla Presley, original sketches, and more. This handsome and iconic gold ring was personally owned and designed by Elvis Presley. The ring was custom made for the king and is crafted of solid 14-karat yellow gold and Elvis's preferred nugget motif. This is the very first TCB ring that Elvis had made with the now infamous logo. The ring is decorated with the raised TCB letters lined with diamonds, along with large lightning bolts on each side, which are also lined with diamonds. Above the TCB logo is a large cubic zirconia, where the original 7.56 GIA certified VS2 brilliant round cut diamond was placed. The setting is surrounded by a halo of diamonds, bringing the total carat weight of those to approximately 2.25 or 2¼ carats of round cut diamonds, including all of the accent diamonds. The ring was worn and loved by Elvis until he gave it to J.D. Sumner the first night of the Asheville concert in 1975 in front of more than 14,000 people. According to the accompanying notarized statement of authenticity from Sumner that was dated April 18th of 1982. According to Sumner, Elvis gave him this ring the day before his father Vernon joined the concert tour. Now, y'all, this is funny. Elvis, knowing that his father would miss the ring, sent an assistant to borrow it from J.D., put the ring on, and in front of Vernon complained that it was not fitting his finger properly. Elvis then took it off and gave it to the aide, telling him to put it up. And the aide returned the ring to J.D., and Elvis had a replica made by his jeweler so that Vernon Presley would not know that J.D. Sumner had the original one. Note, the 7.56 carat diamond was removed from the ring for GIA grading and insurance purposes and will come with the ring along with the original GIA report, receipt from GIA, a letter and sketches from jeweler Lowell Hayes, and a letter from when the diamond was removed from the ring. This first TCB ring was acquired from the collection of Mike Moon, who received it from J.D. Sumner in the early 80s. And it is truly a once-in-a-lifetime piece and a must-have for the serious Elvis collector, as a piece of this magnitude may not surface for many decades. This is arguably the most significant and well-documented piece of Elvis's jewelry on the planet, as even Graceland has not had a piece of this magnitude. The ring will include a letter from Priscilla Presley, who recalls designing the iconic TCB logo with Elvis. In addition to the many documents included with the piece, there are photos of Elvis and J.D. Sumner wearing the ring, and a recording from the Asheville concert in which you can hear Elvis introduce and give J.D. this ring, telling the crowd he paid over $40,000 for the piece, to which he was met with massive applause. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. There are a couple of things that stand out to me in this. Did you catch where I said that Elvis knew his dad would miss that ring? So what did he do? He went, got the ring from JD, had it on when his dad got to the room, complained about it not fitting properly, and had a what made? A replica. My question is this: how many replicas of Elvis's jewelry are floating around? How many replicas of clothing are floating around? How do you know if they're real or they're not real? That's where you need to make sure, if you are purchasing any of these items, that you are purchasing from a company that you are sure about, that you make sure that you have got certificate of authenticity letters, that you know exactly where this merchandise has come from. It's also concerning to me that the diamond was taken out. Yeah, they were having it supposedly, what did they say about that? That they had it for grading and insurance purposes. Could they not have examined it with the diamond still intact in the ring? That seems a little funny to me. Maybe some of you have more details and know more information. I have heard stories. I'm not going to share them right now, but if some of you have information, you can write it in the comments below, or if some of you have real notable information where you have gotten it from the source, please be sure and send me a private message, or also write down in the comments so I will have that information. It just seems a little weird to me, you know. So Elvis had a replica made of that ring. So another question would be, where is the replica? Who has the replica of that ring? And I said the ring sold for over $400,000. I got permission from Stephen Schutz, who, like I said, is a auctioneer, very reputable auctioneer in the business. And he has written several articles. And I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the issues with GWS auctions and Priscilla and all of that. Priscilla ends up giving some kind of letter with this ring, this original TCB ring. Why? In 1975. My question is why? They have supposedly J.D. Sumner's letter stating that it's authentic. It came from Mike Moon, who had a museum in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and it has since closed. It has not been open for quite some time. So I'm guessing that maybe that's how GWS came by it, is when he closed the museum down. Maybe he was selling some things. That's just a guess on my part, so don't take that for gospel. But Priscilla was long gone out of the equation by 1975. So why do we need some kind of letter from her? It said that it was because she helped him design the logo. So, big deal. Does she have something to do with this ring too? I don't know. But it seems to me any way possible that she can get her name into the mix, she's going to do it. And, you know, it gets really tiring to hear Elvis, Priscilla, Priscilla, and Elvis. There was an Elvis before Priscilla, and there was Elvis after Priscilla, and she doesn't have to always be tied simultaneously to Elvis. And why she feels like that is necessary is quite beyond me. So I want to go back to what I was telling you about Stephen Schutz, and he has a Facebook page called Rockology, and he has got several great articles in there. And I wanted to read a little bit from one that he wrote, and it's called Elvis Presley and the Magic Closet Syndrome, and it was written in August of 2022. And it's really good. And it's information for the new generation of collectors. I was going to read just part of it, but I'm going to read the whole thing because it really is a very informative piece and gives you guys something to think about, and then you can write your thoughts down below in the comments and we can discuss them maybe later on the next show. Okay. As the 45th anniversary approaches and the run on Elvis memorabilia is reminiscent of the treasure chase in It's a Mad World, the ever-present question arises, is it authentic? The magic closet is a term I came up with several years ago when I began to see blatant fake memorabilia hit the market. When the Elvis world was evolving into the 1980s, Graceland was opening its doors. The absurd Elvis sightings were rampant, and nearly everyone connected to Elvis's lifetime were beginning to sell their Elvis treasures. I'm talking about the Memphis Mafia, the Inner Circle, the former employees, and the relatives. Elvis's passing put many in a sudden need for an income. Thus, the sales began, which was and is fine. There is no crime in selling items gifted by Elvis. Fast forward 40 years plus, and those same artifacts are turning over again. as the buyers in the late 70s and early mid-80s are retiring, downsizing, and preparing for the end of their lives. As in reality, no one really owns these items. We are simply caretakers of the memorabilia in our lifetimes. I like that line. For the newbie collectors, backstories of how items became available to the public in the first place are news stories, having never known about Aunt Delta's backdoor sales, the Burnett's and Dolan Drive, the Memphis Mafia members selling choice pieces, etc., etc. Not until the past 5 years or so did much come to light via historians and bloggers like myself who witnessed the initial sales firsthand, or by discussing with the collectors how their Elvis-owned items were acquired immediately post Elvis's passing. In the 1980s, there was the godfather of memorabilia, Jimmy Velvet, Mike Moon, who, as you recall, I said this original TCB ring came from. Mike Moon was a West Coast collector who remains somewhat elusive to this day, and literally no more than a half dozen major collectors worldwide. They had the luxury of being first in line to buy clothing, jewelry, and personal items that Elvis owned and wore just a few years prior. Today, the unknowing newbies purchase forgeries and items attributed to Elvis's career as they hear at times believable stories from so-called believable people. Some of those people selling are inner circle. Some are strangers with fabricated stories, and as of today, more misleading information. This from GWS Auctions and Priscilla Presley. This tutorial was going to go a different direction and possibly will in subsequent posts, but after today's press releases forwarded to me by numerous Elvis fans regarding GWS Auctions, I am going to go in the direction of educating. The Elvis Presley Colonel Tom Parker jewelry referenced in the GWS auction press releases is not from Priscilla Presley, as it is alluded to be. The items are not from Graceland either. So fans, rest assured and don't be fooled. There was an off-the-radar person in the Elvis circles that most no one has heard of. Long story short, that person was a teenage boy who was helping his father at Elvis's part-time residence prior to home ownership in California. Elvis and the boy conversed, and in turn, Elvis encouraged the colonel to hire him as an employee, and sometime later, that is exactly what he did. Fast forward, Greg McDonald inherited the collection of jewelry and nearly 8,000 telegrams by disclosed estimate from the Parker estate. Initially, when the collection became known to me several years ago, the concern was EPE would step in and claim the property as having supposedly purchased the colonel's entire collection decades prior. Supposedly, that massive acquisition loaded and moved in the cover of the night from the colonel's Madison, Tennessee office was the collection in entirety. Let me read that back again because my iPad just blacked out for a minute and I want to make sure I've got that completely right to you guys. Okay, we're going to go back to the concern about this colonel's jewelry that Greg McDonald inherited. The concern was EPE would step in and claim the property as having supposedly purchased the colonel's entire collection decades prior. That's a scary thought. Supposedly, that massive acquisition loaded and moved in the cover of the night from the colonel's Madison, Tennessee office was the collection in entirety. Only a handful of people knew of this current collection. They were and are the major players in the Elvis memorabilia world. Brigitte Kruse was not one of those players, neither was EPE. Now it comes to auction via GWS. Priscilla is obviously endorsing it for money. All good, except to be clear, you are not buying Priscilla's possessions, or in some cases, Elvis's jewelry. The Colonel was gifted jewelry by other people, not just Elvis. Priscilla was not even in the picture post 1971. She didn't really re-enter the picture until Graceland opened for business under Jack Soden's direction. Per Jack Soden, she had minimal interest in the estate. She was simply the face of the business. Finally, this collection was picked through prior by two major collectors. Remember I talked about the one ring that was auctioned off? This was not part of this auction he's talking about. The Colonel's and Elvis's lost jewelry collection is what they call it. However, Priscilla somehow is involved in every single thing that has to pertain to Elvis. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and keep going here. If you plan on bidding, keep in mind Brigitte Kruse, GWS historically shills bids. In essence, you are potentially not bidding against another collector, but the auction house itself. You are being run by the house. Shilling is a felony. Thus, the reason the FBI became involved in investigating GWS, Brigitte Kruse, for fraud and conducting shill bids last year. Priscilla Presley never laid eyes on much of this memorabilia, with the exception of a piece, or until recent months. Priscilla didn't discover anything except a paycheck from GWS. At the end of the day, Elvis will always remain the king, except in the office of charlatans, where Ben Franklin is king. Stephen, thank you so much for your permission and letting me share your information on my channel. I wanted to tell you guys, I also wanted to read to you what shilling is, so you will be aware of that. What is shill bidding? Essentially, shill billing refers to the practice of a seller, in this case it would be GWS Auctions, using another user identification which they have created, then using it to bid on their own listings. They sometimes even go to the extent of creating and using multiple accounts, all in their favor. The sellers do this to affect the final price of the item positively. This increases the profits they make, sometimes because of too much greed. The seller may end up winning their piece in the bidding exercise. The main idea behind this is that the bidding will be high prices, hoping that a legitimate buyer comes along and bids even higher to win the goods for sale. As unfortunate as it may sound, it is a practice that is increasingly getting more and more popular. And is shill bidding legal? No, it is not. So that brings to mind and to question several things. Is GWS shill billing? Shill bidding? Does Priscilla know about it? Why is Priscilla involved in this anyway? Is it just to fund her pocket? If she didn't own these items, why is she getting paid for these items? They were never hers to begin with. Is she just getting some kind of stipend because she's Priscilla Presley and she's lent her name, or she's written a letter of recollection? To me, this all sounds ridiculous. And I don't understand why Priscilla just continually, day after day after day, is making money off of Elvis. I guess she can because she was the ex-wife, but remember that she is the ex-wife. She is no more Elvis Presley's wife anymore than anybody. You know, you could pick any girl he dated, you know, that they can all claim to have known Elvis and to have been a part of things. But I just find it really ironic and really crazy that she is involved in all of this auction stuff. Now, she is split from Brigitte. I don't know the extent of what all is going on there. All I have is the information that I gave you from Navarrone's Live last week. How much of that is true, we don't know. But where did he get his information from? It sure does make you wonder, doesn't it? Stay tuned to my channel. I'm going to be having more about this Brigitte, Kruse, Priscilla, and GWS auction stuff going on. And who knows, maybe by next week, I may have some more juicy information to share with you guys. Maybe some of it will have come out and we'll know a little bit more about what's going on between Priscilla and Brigitte Kruse. Thank you all again for watching. Remember, you only get one life to live, so make the most of it every single day. Bye everyone, and thank you again for tuning into my channel. See you next time.